Hello and welcome to another video, and before I get into today's topic I have a quick and extremely exciting announcement to make. So as of this video going live, which is 7 PM UK time or GMT for the time zone fans out there, my website is live. Okay, now on my website I have some freaking sick programs. I have like Breaking Bad, I think Suits season 2 to 5, Queer Eye for the Straight Guy. What? Programs? Yeah? Oh, training programs. Yeah, that makes more sense actually. So, in all seriousness, with the launch of my website, I've dropped 4 programs. I've dropped a hypertrophy program, a strength program, a hybrid program, and a fat loss program. So whether you want to build muscle or get stronger or combine both, or you want to lose fat and get shredded, I've got you covered. Now, each of the 4 programs is 12 weeks in length and they're each priced at $19.99, so just under 20 quid. Now, bear in mind, each program is repeatable. That means you can basically run it twice. You are effectively getting 24 weeks or 6 months of freaking sick programming for under £20. Like, that's pretty nuts, right? Bear in mind, each one also comes with a guide. The guide tells you everything you need to know about running the training program, but also loads of topics like things like diet. So if you want to cut or bulk or maintain, how to go about doing that, what kind of supplements to take, like your training volume, how to manage it, RPE, recovery, like lifting technique, basically anything you would need to know if you are training fairly regularly is covered in that guide. So to be honest, like, $19.99 is worth spending on the guide alone. Okay, I apologise if this is like information overload. You know, I'm talking really fast, like even faster than normal, but probably tell I'm pretty freaking excited about this. Like, I'm excited because these programs have genuinely been over a year in the making, and I know they work. You know, I know they're effective, and so I'm excited for you guys to start getting them and using them and sharing your like results with me. You know, now I've tested them on like literally hundreds of clients. I've tested them on myself as well, like for a long period of time. I've been honing them over the course of the last year, and like I said, I know they work because the results have been consistently really good. On top of that, the hybrid program, I'm actually running it now myself, so that's quite cool. You know, if you pick up the hybrid program, you know you're on exactly the same programming that I'm on. So, like I said, the programs are now live. So if you go into the description, it's the very top link at the top of the description, the link to my website. Go on that, you can go on programs, and you'll see the 4 options. You can then go ahead and pick one up. Like I said, they are $19.99. I genuinely believe that is friggin' sick value for what you get. You pick up a really good training program, you get a really comprehensive guide, and you also get to help me out. You know, like ultimately, if you like me and you like my channel, you like my Luca intros, you get some kind of enjoyment from watching my videos, that is a really good way that you guys can go ahead and support me. And just in case you are still unsure, you're on the fence, you know, you don't know whether you should go out and buy one right now, allow me to sweeten the deal and hopefully convince you to do so. I'm going to be running a pretty friggin' huge giveaway for anyone that buys a program in the first 24 hours of them going live, right? So from 7 PM right now up until 7 PM tomorrow from the time of this video, you'll be entered into a giveaway. Now what happens is, when you buy one of my programs, I get an email with all your contact details, including your email address, obviously. Now, anyone that buys a program in that first 24-hour period, I will keep all of your email addresses. I will then go through and pick out 3 winners at random. Those 3 winners will each receive 16 weeks of coaching from me, right? So you'll be coached by me one-on-one for 16 weeks. That is the value of £450, and you'll be getting it for free, and that's 3 winners. Now, there is an unlimited amount of entries. That means if you buy 2 programs, you obviously double your chance of entering. If you buy 4 programs, like buy all 4, you're basically guaranteed to win. Right, now that's done and you've all brought a program, let's get into the freaking video. Okay, we're in. Thank the Lord. Now, as you probably ascertained from the video title, unless you are a fish and you can't read, let alone access YouTube, today's topic is going to be reps and sets. So how many reps and sets should you be doing? How many is optimal in order to build muscle? This is one of the most frequently asked questions I get on YouTube and over on Instagram. You know, people want to know how many reps and sets should they be doing in the gym. So without further ado, let's dive in. In terms of reps, there are studies to back up the use of anywhere from 5 to 20 reps per set. What I mean by that is there are studies that show that doing 5 reps per set is really effective for building muscle. There are also studies that show that doing 20 reps per set is really effective for building muscle. In fact, we can actually go beyond that. So there are studies that show that as low as 3 reps per set can be effective for muscle building, and there are studies that show that 30 reps per set can also be effective for muscle building. The reason I've come in to that 5 to 20 range is that I personally believe that is more optimal. I think if we drop down to say like 3 reps, the weight you're going to have to lift for that to be intense enough to be effective is going to be unsustainable. Like if you're lifting heavy triples every day of the week, you're going to be more susceptible to injury, you're going to get fatigue. It's just not going to be repeatable over a long period of time. And if you go up to say 30 reps, the problem there is that those first like 20 reps or so are basically a waste of time. Like the only purpose they serve is to prepare you for the last 10 reps of that set. So if you do all your exercises reps of 30, you're doing a huge amount of reps in your session that aren't really doing much. It's basically wasted volume. So we now know that anywhere from 5 to 20 reps is effective in order to build muscle, right, for hypertrophy to take place. Now, you might be watching this and thinking, well, that friggin' sucks. I want to get like an exact number. You'd like me to say 10 reps is the best thing to do. Now, I personally believe that having like an optimal rep range is actually more beneficial, right? Only because I don't believe in always doing the same rep ranges. Like if I was to say to you 12 reps is the best number of reps to build muscle, and you did 12 reps for every single set of every single session for like years and years, you would get friggin' bored. You go out of your mind, your adherence would be poor, and obviously if you don't train consistently, you're not going to make progress. I personally believe that having that range of 5 to 20, maybe even cut it down to say 7 to 15, gives you more variance within your training to make it more exciting, to make it more fun, to make it more to encourage adherence, and that's ultimately going to yield over long term better results. With that said, the key thing you have to bear in mind that although you can vary your rep ranges, you still have to be tracking your training volume, you still have to be progressively overloading it over time. You can't just say, oh, today I'll do 7, tomorrow I'll do 12, maybe Thursday I'll just chuck in 15, see how I feel. That's not how it works. Although that is an optimal rep range in terms of hypertrophy, it still has to be part of a bigger picture, part of a bigger program. And like I said, you have to make sure that progressive overload is taking place over a long period of time to keep making progress. So that's reps. What about sets? How many sets is optimal in order to build muscle? Unfortunately, the answer is kind of equally vague. Now, there was a recent meta-analysis. Basically a meta-analysis is like a massive study that looks at loads of other studies over a period of time, and what this enormous study found is that we don't really know the upper limit as far as the number of sets you should do in order to build muscle. Okay, now this study looked at sets per body part per week, okay, and they looked at athletes that were doing anywhere from 25 sets per body part per week up to 45 sets per body part per week. And what they found is that in terms of building muscle, the results basically did this. Okay, so the more sets you did, the more muscle you built, and like that's it. Okay, and that's I mean, on the surface sounds quite obvious, but also not, because I think a lot of people would advocate the use of a lot less than 45 sets per body part. So what it does show you is that you can basically do loads, like more is better basically. However, there are two things you need to bear in mind here. Firstly, when this study talks about sets per body part per week, secondary muscles also count. So for example, if we're talking about the number of sets for your bicep per week, as well as doing bicep curls, they also counted things like rows and lat pull downs. So anytime muscle is involved, to pretty much any extent, that was counted as a set. All right. So obviously, doing purely isolation stuff for that muscle would probably come down a little bit. Plus, they didn't factor in things like heavy compounds. So obviously, they were considering like an arm curl to be relative to like a deadlift or a squat. Obviously, we know the fatigue effect of a squat or a deadlift is going to be far greater than doing like an arm curl. So you have to bear that in mind as well. The other thing to bear in mind is that even though we now know doing more sets is better, you still have to be careful, you still have to be progressive about things in order to keep making long-term progress. So if you're a relative beginner and you say, right, I'm going to jump into the gym and start doing 45 sets per body part per week, firstly, you're probably going to die. If you don't die, you might make loads of progress initially, but then where do you go from there? If you're already doing 45 sets per body part per week, that is a huge amount of volume. It's going to be very hard to progress that, and you're going to end up living in the gym. So the most important, the key takeaway here is do what you need to do to make progress. Just work on the least amount of volume possible in order to keep making progress. When you start to stall, when you start to plateau, then you can start adding in more volume. Anyway, so we now have an idea of how many sets per week we should be doing per body part, or we basically know that, more is better. What about how many sets should you be doing per exercise? And this is where things get a little bit more specific. So I personally would recommend anywhere from 3 to 5 sets per exercise. The reason for that is that in terms of going below that, so doing 1 or 2 sets, there have been studies that have showed, they've compared like doing 1 heavy set for an exercise versus 3 to 5 heavy sets for an exercise, and the guys doing 3 to 5 sets per exercise made more progress, right? So that's the first thing. And in terms of going above to doing more than 5 sets, so like 6, 7 or 8 sets for an exercise, I personally believe it's going to be like diminishing returns. Like basically, once you get past that 5th set, the quality of your sets is going to diminish, therefore the contraction, the engagement is going to diminish, the risk of injury and fatigue goes up. It's just not sustainable. So like I said, for me personally, my recommendation would be 3 to 5 sets per exercise. Right, so we now know how many sets we should be doing per exercise. We now know roughly how many sets we should be doing per body part within a week. We can now work out how many exercises we're going to do per session or per week. So let's take your chest for example, and let's say you're a beginner to intermediate, right? So you've been training for like a year to 2 years, right? If you say, right, this week I want to do 25 total sets for my chest, that'll be a pretty good place to start, I'd say. We know that if we go, let's say you want to do 5 sets per exercise, you're going to do 5 exercises, right? Because 5 exercises of 5 sets for your chest is going to give you 25 total sets for your chest. And that is where I'm going to end the video, because I'm pretty sure I've covered everything. Plus I need to go and shave my legs with my grandma's toothbrush. Plus I need to get ready to give away loads of friggin' sick stuff to people that have brought the program. So make sure you go and buy one to give yourself a chance of winning and to support the channel. Right, you guys are sick. I massively appreciate the support. Give the video a like if you enjoyed it, subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you tomorrow.